What I want to do is I just want to talk about what ideation is to me and how it goes. And from there, I'll open the room, even though we have like 178 and increasing, alhamdulillah, participants joining us, inshallah. I'll open the room for as many questions as I can possibly take at the time that we have, which is approximately 1 hour. All right. So ideation. What is an idea? An idea is the cheapest thing on the planet. When I say the cheapest thing, I mean anybody can have an idea. كلنا عندنا 450 ideas that roam around in our head that we believe will be the next $1 million idea. But that's the thing. It's just there. It's the cheapest thing possible. And what counts is how to execute it, how to actually get that idea from point 0 to 1 and then execute it to the market. Sorry, I shook, I hit the table. But anyways, so there are certain steps. And based on my journey, I saw that there are multiple 5 steps that you have to go through to be able to get the right idea, especially when you're setting up a business, especially when you want to go into a startup journey. It doesn't matter whether it's hardware, software. It doesn't matter whether it has to do with technology or doesn't have to do with technology. These are the 5 points that generally make absolute sense when it comes to creating an idea. So if you want to write those down, let's start with number 1, compassion. Ta'atuf. Why do I say compassion or ta'atuf? Is because very straight up, very straightforward. You see a problem that you faced, a family member faced, a friend faced, some issue. Let's take an example of talabat in that retrospect. Let's go with the most well-known version, example that is in Bahrain today. Talabat, for example, started when an individual was, in a gathering with his friends, planning to order food. And he's talking to his friends and asking them, hey, so what do you want? 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 And everybody's giving him this unique order, all that sort of stuff. And then he's kind of like stuck. What should I do? I'm confused. And when they order by phone, it takes a lot of time. The guy is waiting on the other line. 6 other people are probably calling and on hold and trying to get access to the restaurant to place an order. And then when the food actually is delivered, it takes a long time. And after it takes a long time, when it's delivered, it's cold and like 50% wrong, completely. What's the problem? And this is the problem right there. So he was compassionate with this idea, the individual that actually created the business idea initially. He saw that these people are facing this issue. I am facing this issue. And these are my friends. We're all facing the same problem. So then he went to step number 2, after being compassionate with something that exists. Step number 2 was identification. Now, when I say identification, I don't mean I know that there is a problem. No. Identification means you go and you check with other people as well. So it might be you and 4 friends that faced this issue once. Does not mean that you have a business idea, that it's going to work. No, you got to understand, first of all, is there a market for this? Is there like 200 other people facing this issue? And that's why surveys come in. That's why questions to a broader audience comes in. I'm going to go and I'm going to actually ask a couple of people, and then, let's see what happens. If these guys have that issue, then I'm pretty sure that another person might have that issue. Let me go ask that other person, confirm it. So second step would be identification. I identified that the problem exists not just with me and my friends, but with a wider audience. So an 80% out of the 200 people we surveyed have that problem. So now you've identified a problem. I didn't even speak about creating an idea. You just identified a problem. And then you go to step number 3, and that's where you create the idea. When I say create the idea, it means you want to talk about solving that problem. So you have a problem, you identify that it exists with you and your friends and your family, and then exists with a multiple number of people, of 200, 300, whatever the case. And then you create an idea that is a solution to that problem in your head on a piece of paper. Start researching it. Very quickly, do research. Find out online, has anybody else done this? If yes, then it doesn't mean I'm going to stop and not do it. No. What have they done that I can do better? Have they done it where I am in Bahrain? Have they done it in the region? No. Okay, let me figure out how I can do it for Bahrain. Can I localize it? Can I do it? You start thinking of multiple facets and then understanding, hey, this is the idea that will solve the problem that exists today. The problem that I was compassionate about, the problem that I've identified, and I think I can solve it with that. Then we go to step number 4. Step number 4 is creating what we call the MVP, minimum viable product, which is the easiest, simplest version of your solution. يعني في طلبت's case, they started with a website. صح? They started with just a website, and that was in 2010, 11, I'm not entirely sure, but they started with just that page, and from that page they would select مثلا ان انا ابي اطلب من المطعم الفلاني, I want to order from this restaurant, and that restaurant would deliver to where I am, and that's it. This is what Talabat did. It was the simplest version of what they're trying to offer. And then from there, Talabat were started growing. So they created that version by spending a very, very small amount of money. You don't need to spend millions or hundreds of thousands to start it. It's just the simplest possible version, and understand whether it's going to work or not. That's when you go to step number 5, which is test it in the market. You take that MVP, give it to those people that you surveyed initially, 200 people, test it with them. Is it working with them? Is the solution working them? Is what you're offering working for them? Are they going to come back and buy from you? If not, is there feedback? Take that feedback. You might actually enhance and fix that solution, and eventually, you're able to actually take it and pitch it to the public in a nutshell. So yeah, so for us, that would be the 5 steps of what ideation is. You start by simply saying compassion. Again, write those steps down. Compassion, تعاطف, identification, تحديد الفكرة, تحديد المشكلة, excuse me, and then creating the idea, خلق الفكرة, and then the MVP, which is the minimum viable product, أبسط version حق الابلكيشن أو حق البلاتفورم أو حق السولوشن, or for the whatever it is that you're going to offer, and then market test. This is what ideation is in a nutshell. I don't need to explain it way too much. Generally, this is, I'm not going to say that a lot of people are going to tell you, oh, ideas just pop up out of nowhere. You're correct. They do. That's why we have 200, 300. But then ideas without an actual structure are not ideas that you can build into a viable business. So you do have to have a structure, identifying a problem, getting all that sorted, and then from there, trying to solve it by creating a solution for it. If you want to develop a game, I'm pretty sure that there's someone else that thought of something similar as a plot. But of course, there's always amendments and extras and adding. But then again, if you're a gamer and you play, for example, God of War, you don't want to play another game called I don't know, God of Love, and it's like literally a copy of what the other game is. The only thing is it's more towards hearts and fun, because it's a knockoff. That's what happens, and gamers are a very unique set of people. So when you want to create or develop a game when it comes to mobile apps and whatnot, that's a different business model on its own. You might want to develop a business model that says, hey, I develop 6, 7 games and I want to generate just cash out of it, and there is no actual solution that I'm trying to give to a certain and that's not a wrong thing. Absolutely, you can do that, because that's that type of market. But when it comes to actually creating something that has longevity, that has possibility to scale and grow, that has access to, I can launch it in Bahrain, replicate it in Saudi, replicate it in Kuwait, replicate it everywhere, and eventually it becomes a massive business. They all start with a structure to solve an actual problem that exists. That's how it usually goes. Story, I know a story about a guy, a friend of mine based out of Jordan, who one day was just sitting at home, and the existing model of a mobile app game, reskinned it completely and launched it and forgot about it. Linked it to a bank account on separately and just completely forgot about it. After a year, he gets a call from the bank going like, hi, Mohammed, his name is Mohammed. I'm Mohammed, so I'm trying to offer you a solution, an overdraft solution for $5 million. The guy was like, I don't have money. Why are you offering me a $5 million solution? Like, no, you actually have almost $1.7 million in your bank account. He didn't know about it. Strictly from the game. So don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but then it's very difficult to actually get into. And then how are you going to scale it? Mohammed was smart enough to actually figure out that there is a problem within the gaming community, that there is no localized games. And because there is no localized games for his domain or his region or his country, He created a company that provides localized games that are in Arabic, understandable for a certain niche of customers. So you see, he identified a problem within the gaming community. Again, if you want to create a company, then you identify a problem and offer a solution. If you want to create a game, you don't necessarily have to identify anything. It's just a game. Periscope got acquired by Twitter when it was, written on a napkin. The guy was sitting. He used to be a Twitter employee. He left. He decided of creating they wanted to create a business. Sat down with a senior executive who was his friend in Twitter, and then told her that, hey, listen, this is an idea that I have. He writes it down on a napkin in the bar that they were sitting in, and he shows her, this is what I'm planning to do, and he explains it. And she goes like, wow, awesome. Can I take this and show it to the management, and maybe we can get you funded? Funny enough, a week later, the guy, sold it for $160 million. Not 60, 130 or 40, something of the sort. But anyways, it's a massive amount of money. Now, don't get me wrong, you can sell an idea, but then again, it's cheap. Ideas are very cheap. This guy wrote the idea on a napkin because he knew somebody, and it was a freak accident that somebody liked the idea so much. They decided to buy it completely, but then in return, they managed to get him to run it. And when I say buy it, they don't necessarily mean, I'm going to give you 130, $140 million for you. La habibi, I'm going to put it in the company, and then you're going to get a massive salary, and you're going to make it happen and make it work. This is the best version of being able to sell an idea. Because generally, when an investor comes in and he sees you talk about an idea passionately, he would expect you to establish it and run it and take it from step 0 to 1. So they would invest in you and not the idea, because it's something that needs to be tested. Selling it directly and, hey, take the idea. This is my idea. Take it and you implement it. That doesn't work. Who can implement the idea exactly the way you do? So I don't think it's feasible to just develop ideas and sell them. Maybe if you develop the business as an MVP, like I said, go through the entire steps, get it tested, have a bunch of clients, like 1,000 people using it, 500, 600, 200, whatever the number that you're looking at, and then offer it for sale for somebody for a specific amount of money that's reasonable, obviously not hundreds of millions, then maybe yes. But then just an idea on a piece of paper, I don't think it's sellable at all. Obviously, this is a path that has a ton of obstacles, Hamad. No matter what you do, you're always going to face a hurdle in front of you. So let me tell you an example of when I started a business in 2012. I left a company that was paying me a ton of money. I was getting paid almost 4,000 dinars a month. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to do this. I left and I wanted to join, create my own business. I started a business which is in the food and beverage domain. It was a restaurant, very bluntly. Funny enough, 2 days, 3 days, we got a full house, completely packed. But then after 4 days, we started seeing people leaving. Now we thought maybe the quality of our food was messed up, so we went back, reiterated, and we realized no, it was the location. It was very far away for a few people. But I started realizing that we're able to actually, we're not able to actually cater to a certain set of people or group of people, because there is no, it's a ladder to go up there, or it's steps to go up there, and there is no access for wheelchairs. Again, so many different things are going to pop up in front of you, and they're going to form a sort of an obstacle for you. Your obstacle could be a partner that doesn't work well with you. It could be someone that doesn't really, get their hands dirty with you and expect you to do the entire work. You're always going to face an obstacle, and that's the beauty of it. There is no specific set of obstacles that you're going to face, but there are definitely unique ones that are going to be relative to what you are trying to do as a business. There's several ways of testing. So you can test things like pricing, you can test things like the actual item. Now, Khalil, the pricing on the side, initially you want to prove that the idea is actually solving a problem and it's benefiting the people. That's the initial part of your ideation in a nutshell. So what you want to do, or what you want to focus on, is, does my platform work and solve that problem? If you provide a platform or a system that provides certain services or applications for a certain system, then you should find that client that you devise that solution for, and sit with them and tell them to test it. Hey, go through it. Let me know what you think. Teach them how to go through it initially. You'll figure out whether it's complicated. You'll figure out whether it needs a lot of work. You'll figure out whether it needs a certain reiteration. You'll figure out whether your user experience is okay. You'll figure out whether your user interface is okay. And you got to fix that and amend that as you go. This is the best version of getting, or the best way, excuse me, of you getting your idea out there and trying to get, acquire a client. Because once that client initially that you solve the problem for becomes your first believer and uses it, they're going to be your main evangelist. And they're going to talk about your business idea to their friends and other clients, and potentially they're going to come in. So testing is very straight up. You have a system or a platform, you test it yourself for quality, and then you go and offer it to the client. They will test it, because in the end, you're testing and you're the guy or the person that developed it is something, but then that client testing it is a completely different thing. They will see something that you probably missed out on. It's them that define whether your business is going to succeed or your idea is going to succeed. It's not you. You create something, they give you feedback, you reassess it, you launch it back to them, they like it, then you have a product that you can actually sell for other people. That's why, so there is no specific set of tests that you can do or conduct, but the main one is get the client to actually jump on board with it. I am a firm believer that marketing is flawed. I think that there is a problem that can be solved. Inshallah, one of you guys is able to solve it at some point in the future. When I say marketing is flawed, I mean that almost $600 billion are spent on marketing in the world today, and the highest return on that investment is 8.2%. That's the highest ever recorded return. So imagine putting $1 million and you get only $82,000 back. So that, in a nutshell, shows that there is a problem in our marketing, whether it's online or offline. But I can tell you for a fact that today, the simplest, the cheapest, and the fastest way to promote your platforms is going online. Whether you do search engine optimization, whether you do general growth hacks, whether you do Instagram ads, Facebook ads, Google AdWords, and use AdSense, YouTube ads, whatever, all of those all together exist today that you can actually do and use. And then each one of them is going to give you a certain set. I, for one, if I'm going to promote something, I'm a fan of using multiple ones. So if I have, let's say, 1,000 dinar budget to do marketing, I'm not going to take 1,000 dinars and throw it only on Instagram or throw it only on YouTube. I'm going to take 1,000 dinars and I'm going to split it into 100 on YouTube, 100 on Instagram, 100 on Google AdWords, 100 on, and just split it this way. See what works. If one of them works better than all the others, I'm going to try to figure out how to put more money into that one thing to increase the traffic as much as possible and milk it, all while enhancing my product as I go forward. So I'm not going to tell you that there is one specific marketing method. And if any of you think that social media influencers are the #1 method, trust me, they are not. They're just a bunch of money that you pay. They're going to get you clients for 2 days, but then gone. It's a fad-based advertising, and it's going to cost you a ton of money, much more than actually doing it yourself. Yeah, is don't be afraid of competition, even if no matter how big they are, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to solve a problem the way that they aren't doing. They aren't solving it. For example, very bluntly, Airbnb. Let's talk about Airbnb. Airbnb, when they started, they had, of course, the scale في أمريكا مو نفس السكيل عندنا في البحرين. So if we in Airbnb at the seed stage في أمريكا, they raised around, I think it was $5 to $6 million. Initially, they were valued at around $20-something million in the beginning of their life, and they were doing well. They were growing significantly. They were available in only 2 states to solve certain problems. The problem of people being able to lease their unused space and whatnot. And then Rocket Internet, we all know who Rocket Internet is. They acquired Delivery Hero. They own Talabat. They own all these big guys here in the region. So Rocket Internet decided that, hey, instead of going and acquiring Airbnb, let's do something similar and let's pump $200 million into it from day one. Literally, they did that. They pumped $200 million in it from day one, and they launched it in Europe. It grew significantly within a certain country, and that's about it. It didn't pick up. Airbnb continued doing what they were doing. They increased their scalability. They grew from 2 states to 10, 15, 20, 30 states. And then ultimately that $200 million business flopped and shut down. Airbnb grew to become a multi-billion-dollar business, which is public right now. So do not be scared of big competitors with more resources. Figure out how to focus on one thing slowly, and then get it perfected, and then add to it as you go forward. Existing companies today, one day I was asked a question by a bank. I was thinking of offering a solution, and and I spoke to the bank, and the bank told me, what if we decide to do it ourselves and offer it as a product? My response was, well, fantastic, you can do that by all means, but I'm going to ask you a question. And the guy was like, okay, shoot. It's like, how many products do you guys have as a bank? He was like, I don't know. Why? A lot. Like, yeah, so approximately 100 تقريبا 100 products or service solutions for clients. يقول لي give or take. قلت له, okay, perfect. I would only have one, and I'm doing it completely focused 100% on it. So if this guy is focusing on 100 products and adding one more product to his solutions, they're not going to be able to do it as perfectly or as well as you do. They're not going to have direct contact with the client or with the individual that you're trying to solve the problem for. You, on the other hand, are going to meet them face to face, get feedback on the spot, try to solve it. You're going to be doing it yourself, and getting your hands dirty with it. So this is I think the main thing that they lack as a business is the fact that they think of this as just a number. You think of it as more of a passion, and you'd be able to actually get it and do it much better than they can, regardless of their size, regardless of their resources and the money that they have. It's just a means of scaring you. It's not, and it should not scare you at all. Kareem initially created what Uber is for our region. Uber couldn't scale to our region for multiple reasons. You want to be able to initially طبعا في البداية في our region, the regulation is different, the legislation is different, the language is different, and there are multiple dialects that you have to take a look at. So localization is difficult, but we understand our region. So if we take what exists there, implement it here, localize it correctly, try to solve the problem of localization initially, and then figuring out how to scale it. So what Kareem did was instead of offering it initially to anybody to register to become a Kareem driver في الإمارات طبعا where they started, they actually dealt directly with companies that have their own fleets. And then from there, they grew significantly. They offered the exact same solution as Uber in Saudi Arabia. Anybody can register to become a Kareem driver. And then in Bahrain, they have to have a taxi. See, they catered to all of these solutions. Then Uber saw how, oh my God, Kareem took up the entire market for the MENA region. We're not able to actually compete with them for the MENA region. Best solution is buy them. And that's what they did. $3.1 billion they bought Kareem, because Kareem has taken their idea, implemented it perfectly here in the region. Another business called, I don't know if you're familiar with checkout.com. Very recently, a business called Tamara, based out of Saudi Arabia. It's a fintech business. You buy now and you pay later. This existed ages ago everywhere outside of the region, outside of Saudi Arabia. Tamara offered the solution, localized it, made it for Saudi Arabia. It worked very well. Checkout saw it. Instead of Checkout competing with them and launching a localized version themselves, they came in and invested with Tamara and gave them a credit line of $110 million. Even though Tamara has literally the traction of a seed level company, still very new. So this is the thing. You do it well enough, you get noticed, you get the option of working with that company or getting acquired by that company, or just being able to get the region before that company and compete on a global level. So that's the thing. No matter what you develop, what you create, I created the best idea possible. I did the almost best implementation possible of it. The best version of it has been launched. And unfortunately, because the market doesn't understand it or the market doesn't require it, it fails. And that's the nature of what businesses are. The critical success factor is actually solving a problem and then being able to give it to that client directly, identifying that client and achieving what we call product market fit. This is the critical success factor. All your investment initially, everything is geared towards achieving product market fit. If you're able to get clients to use it on a loyal basis constantly, then you'll always find someone that's actually going to be able to, invest in it and believe in it, and it will grow eventually to become a success. بس اقول لك ان في 1 2 3 4 5 6 لازم تسويها, or you have to do these things. There's no such thing. ما في fixed thing. It depends on your business. It depends on you and how you implement it. But there are the norms which you have to know, how to, you have to have some logic when it comes to finance. You have to have some logic or some knowledge when it comes to building a product. If not, then you have to surround yourself with people smarter than you and those things that you don't know. This is all key for you to be able to prove the business. They'll enhance the possibility of it being a success, but it's all down to whether the market wants it or is ready for it or requires it or not.